I'm George Snyder, a veteran of World War II, having fought in the European theater. Welcome to our program today, Shooting from the Hip, a program unrehearsed and spontaneous. That's why we call it Shooting from the Hip. And during this program, we interview veterans of World War II and obtain first-hand accounts of their experiences in the World War II. Now, on these programs, we hope to have veterans from all the branches of the service, Army, Navy, Air Corps, Marines, and Coast Guard, and from all the different theaters throughout the world where American forces served. Now, today we have a special guest, a veteran of the United States Army. Welcome, Rodolfo Farr. Welcome, Rodolfo.
Thank you.
We're going to have to find out why this young man joined in 1940. What prompted you to sign up in 1940? This was more than a year before either Japan or Germany was fighting us.
Well, George, on June 8, 1918, I'm up for my birthday, 22nd birthday, it started raining, and it rained for 3 months. And I was a farmer, and I lost my cotton crop. I was living with my parents, so I figured it was time to move on, probably being 22 years old. So I joined the Army. And I joined the Army, and I was sworn in Jacksonville, Mississippi. And from there, I went to Fort Benning, Georgia. I joined the 8th Infantry Division, 2nd Army.
Yeah.
And I was driving my battalion commander. So it was supposed to be a horse brigade, and it turned up to be a truck.
So this was in 1940. You would have had a choice of other branches. Why didn't you choose the Air Force or the Navy? But you wanted the infantry, didn't you?
Well, George, they asked me what I wanted to do. They asked me if I wanted to join the Air Corps. I told them no, I didn't like flying, and I didn't know how to swim. So the best place was to join the Army.
Okay. So, but even in the Army, you would have had some choices there. You could have served in the artillery or the quartermasters, the signal corps, a lot of safer places than the infantry. But you still wanted the infantry.
At 9 years old, my grandpa showed me how to shoot a rifle, and I got to be pretty good. So I decided to be in the infantry.
Well, that was by choice, and after you were finally home after the war, I guess you decided you'd made the right choice. Now, from 1940 until 1945, that's a long period, 1944, that's a long time. Over 4 years, you were somewhere in the States getting training of different kind. What was some of the training that you received?
In Fort Benning, Georgia, I drove battalion commander, and I had driven a truck 2 years before for the state of Louisiana. And put me driving ahead of the column and hold a certain speed, so everybody learned how to follow the speed. And when we got through learning all of that, we went to Panama City, Florida, on a weekend leave. And then we come back, and I got a leave to go to Louisiana to the funeral. And I had lost a cousin. When I got back I had missed the bayonet training exercise. So I took the bayonet and I passed it. I beat everybody by 10 seconds. The next morning I had appendicitis, and I wound up in the hospital. And then in the hospital I stayed a month in the hospital. They had sewed me inside, and I bled inside. And after I got out of the hospital, I got a furlough for a month to go to my parents in Leroy, Louisiana. And I spent a month there, and then when I got back, they had a bulletin board, wanted somebody to go to Camp Beauregard, Louisiana, and the MP. So I decided to go to the MP, and I went over there in 41. And there in Camp Beauregard, I trained in self-defense. For the trainer had 3 belts. And it took 6 months, 6 weeks course. And after that, I would go on a train from Alexandria to New Orleans, from New Orleans to Kansas City, Missouri, to check the soldiers and the military on a train. And one day I saved a man's life. I was on a train and they had been drinking. And I got up, I watched it, and this guy was going to stab me in the fella in the back. And I jumped up and I grabbed his arm, and I told him to drop it. He didn't drop it, and I hit him in the face with a stick. He dropped it, and then the one he was stabbing turned around and pulled a knife on me. And I got my gun out, and I shot it on the floor, and I told him, put it up, I'm going to shoot you. He put it up, and then we got to New Orleans. I had him locked up for a weekend. And then the weekend, they were back in Alexandria. So I was waiting for him with a truck and brought him to Camp Livingston, Louisiana. And then from there, in 43, I left Alexandria to went to Fort Hood, Texas, in the Tank Destroyer Battalion. And over there, I was a rifleman, and then I went to division commander, and I told him I'd like to have a job in a carpenter shop. So I got a job in a carpenter shop making different stuff for the soldiers. Then he asked me to make a desk to go in the field. So I made him a desk, a patent. And then when I got out of service, I noticed that somebody had patented it. And then in 44, I went to, I was still over there, while I was in the carpenter shop, my sergeant came and got me to go to the carbine to qualify, and I beat everybody with 28 seconds, 28 points. I made it 380 points, and the closest one was a lieutenant. And then the week after that, I got in a problem. But the battalion command told me to go in a problem. I pick up 4 guys. All that time I was a PFC. And battalion command told me to take 4 guys and go out on the field on the problem. While I was over there, they shot a cannon out of Tank Destroyer. And it covered us with dirt. And it cut all the trees down. The week after that, I decided if I was going to get killed, I'd just as well go overseas. And that's why I put in to go back in the infantry.
Okay.
And I went back in Fort Leonard. I got one up in Fort Leonard, Missouri. And our dad was on a problem again. And I was up ahead of the column. And I got over there was a stream. And I got ahead of the column. And then about 6 or 7 guys came by me. I told them, don't scatter. Don't bunch up, scatter. They didn't listen to me. I move over ahead of time. About 10 minutes, 10 steps north, up to the current. And the cannon going off. And it landed right there where I was at. I was standing. And it killed 7 guys there. And then a week later, they called me over there and wanted to know how I knew there was a false dud artillery. I told them, I said, look at my record. You see, I was in Fort Hood and the Tank Destroyer. So that was it.
Okay, so that pretty much summarizes those 4 years that I was looking
Right.
for. You had quite a bit going on those 4 years. So now that brings us up to December of 1944. Of course, this is a critical time in Europe during World War II. The Germans were about to launch the Battle of the Bulge on the 16th of December. And you went overseas in a British ship, I guess.
Right, a British ship
And you landed where in
in Marseille, France.
in Marseille, France, so in southern France. And you were there, you were there, that would be in first part of December sometime. And from there you were what, you were transported in
And
box cars by train and
box cars and then by truck.
truck, and next thing you knew, you were in Belgium. And this was on the 27th of December, which was 11 days after the Bulge had started. So it still gave you plenty of days for combat in the Bulge. Now you said you were, when you say we were on a hilltop, I guess you're talking about your battalion probably, right?
Right, my squad.
Your squad, okay, on this hilltop. And I don't know where it was. It was, if you were Third Army, it was probably on the southern shoulder somewhere. And of course, the hilltops were always an enviable places for anyone to be in defensive position. And for 12 days, you were on this hilltop, and the Germans, of course, wanted the hilltop too, so they kept counterattacking, and you kept repelling them.
Yeah, I was sitting with three guys, and I told him, another one came and he says, I'm so-and-so from New York. I said, well, you can have my place. And I left there and made about 20 steps, and the mortar came and killed all three of them. And then I went down the hill in the foxhole. And in the foxhole, they kept shooting mortars all around the foxhole. So that night, just at about sunset, one of them hit right on the edge of the foxhole and cut a little tree down, but it fell on me. So all that night I stayed awake. And about 5 o'clock next morning, the sun, it was still there, just barely daylight. And the Germans got up and stretched. When I was watching him, and I shot him and I hit him. And then and they come and got me to go up. They said it was over. I said, well, I got a German. He said, so what? I said, well, if I wouldn't have got him, he probably would have got me today with the mortar. So they said, well, okay. And then we left him there, went to a place that they had a tent, and they had a boiler. And they changed clothes, took a bath, and they put us on a truck and took to Luxembourg on the day pass. And during the day, I got a haircut and a shave for 35 cents. And I went looking for something to eat. It was three of us. And I had a bandolier ammunition and some hand grenade hanging in my rifle in what was there. And I went looking for something to eat and found a Red Cross building. They were making donuts. So I told them we were hungry. They said, well, we got donuts. I said, yeah, give us each a dozen donuts. So I put a towel in my hat, my hard hat, and I got a dozen. They said, that's 50 cents. I said, charge Uncle Sam. And then went back to my company. And the next day was in the staging area. And the Germans shooting them in the treetop. And I dug me a foxhole as deep as I could. And by that time I had it through. The sergeant says, come go with me. We got to go down there and bring some, help build, the engineer build a bridge on the South River.
So how about, let's get back to the 12 days up on the hill. You were there for 12 days. What were you eating? K-rations?
K-ration.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell you, but when we landed in the ship in Marseille, there's a package that fell off a cargo net, and it looked like it wanted me to pick it up. I picked it up, and it was a little gas heater.
It was what?
A little gas stove. And I had that with me. I'd heat my K-ration. And I had a canteen of water, a canteen of gas.
So 12 days on a hilltop with nothing but K-rations. You know, that's, I'm often asked, where were you stationed? And I have to laugh because in the infantry, you're never stationed anywhere. You're always on the move. But 12 days on a hilltop almost qualifies you as being stationed
Yeah.
for 12 days. Okay, so you went, from there you went to Luxembourg, and then shortly after that, the next major area was the Saar River. Now, the Saar River flows through France and Germany, and it's in a highly industrialized area, heavily populated, and you were sent there to help the engineers build a bridge across there, not necessarily help build the bridge, but for protection there.
Haul the material, bring the material down.
They were building a bridge across the Saar River.
They had to build one. They had already built one bridge, but the German had blown it up, and they wanted to build another one.
They were building. Was this a pontoon bridge or a pontoon bridge? Yeah. So this is where you were when, of course, the Germans weren't too happy about a bridge across the river. So you were then attacked by artillery and mortars, and particularly an 88. It was that landed near you.
It was an 88 that landed about 10 feet from me.
Mm.
And then I got a shrapnel that hit me in the rib. It went from one side of it and then came out the other side. I got hit in the leg, my left leg. I couldn't walk.
Mm.
And I crawled up to my sergeant, and he got killed, and I was the only one out of 8 that didn't come out alive.
Hmm.
And I crawled up until somebody come and got me, helped me bring me up to Luxembourg to the hospital.
Oh, okay. You went to what, an aid station first, and then
Right, from there, the next day they brought me to the 7th General Hospital in France.
Hmm.
And the next morning, during the night, I heard a complaint about my toes being hurt. So the doctor looked at me and said, "You're about to have gangrene." I said, "Come on." He said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, you can't cover your feet." He said, and it was cold. So the next morning, I went to in a wheelchair. I went the next morning to the bathroom to brush my teeth. Coming out of the bathroom door, I looked up, and there was somebody in front of me in my way. I looked up and I got my head up, and it was my wife's brother, my brother-in-law.
Yeah, I call this a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Yeah, most unusual. So he was there. He hadn't been wounded, hadn't he?
No, he had had a appendicitis attack.
Yeah. And so how long were you at the hospital in France?
I was 2 days, and then he went to Northern England, I went to London. I went to where the D-Day was. I went to there, I got on a hospital ship, and I went to the 8th Infantry Hospital. And then I stayed there till I could walk, and they sent me to southern England to drive a truck to haul poison gas.
Oh.
Every time the German advanced, we moved.
So you were rehabilitated already.
Right.
You were driving?
I drove. While I was in the hospital, I was walking around with crutches, and I'd get on the subway and ride the subway.
So then you eventually came back to the States. When was this?
In 45.
In 45,
June 45.
June of 45.
When the war was ended, they told me I could get out. I had points. I had two children. I had Purple Heart, Brown Star. They told me I was going home. And we went back to France. And then I was in the staging area, and it was my birthday, June 8th. And I asked the lieutenant if I could go to Paris on my birthday as a present. So I went to, while I was there, I went to the Arc de Triomphe, and I was talking to French people. And the colonel came and tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Oh, you're an American?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "How would you like a job?" I said, "What kind of job?" He said, "As an interpreter." So I told him, I said, I don't think so. I said, I'm on my way home. He said, well, if you decide you want to do it, just call me, you write me a letter. I never did write it to him.
So what kind of job did he offer you?
And as an interpreter,
Oh, yeah. So you spoke French too, huh?
I did.
See, I did too. So I contacted the French underground in a lot of cases, which you probably did too. Yeah. So where were you discharged from?
Camp Livingston,
Where?
in Mississippi.
Mississippi. Oh, okay.
We got back we landed back in Boston.
Hmm. So where did you leave Europe from? Marseille again?
No, from Antwerp, Belgium.
Oh, from Antwerp.
From
Okay.
Antwerp. And we got on a cargo ship. And we had a storm on the way back in the Atlantic. I thought sure we were going to sink. It really got rough.
Yeah. Yeah. When you went overseas, did you get seasick?
Yeah, a little bit. I was in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I ate that English fat food.
Oh, that's food, yeah. Yeah, I went over on an English ship. I was sick for 14 days. And the only thing that kept me alive was they made fresh bread every day. And they had apples. Apples and bread I had. But the British food was pretty bad on those ships, wasn't it? Yeah. So when you came home, you went back on the farm, and it had quit raining by then, I guess.
Yeah. When I got out in Mississippi, I hitchhiked to New Orleans. From New Orleans, I hitchhiked all the way to Texas. To my wife was out with her mother-in-law, with her mother. And I got over there, I got it from Lafayette, hitchhike, from Lafayette, Louisiana. And I got a ride all the way to Port Neches, Texas. I got over there with a preacher. He got it, let his wife off in Orange, Texas. And he took me all the way to Port Neches, Texas.
Well, that's the way it was in those days. We had no telephones. You couldn't call your family, and you hitchhiked.
I hitchhiked.
That's where I got home the same way. I hitchhiked, and so what did you do then after the war?
After the war, I got a job with B.F. Goodrich rubber plant,
Oh, yeah.
making synthetic rubber.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm familiar with Goodrich. I grew up in Akron, where all the rubber plants were.
Yeah.
And so you worked for Goodrich for a while.
Worked to him until 1947. In 1947, they laid me off, and I went to work for Gulf Oil Corporation in Port Arthur.
Okay.
I went to work for him until 1969.
So when you look back, you think it was a right decision to want to be in the infantry?
Yeah, it was.
Would you do the same thing over again?
I would.
You would? You'd go back to the infantry, huh? Well, you never do have regrets, I guess, and you'd probably do it all over again, wouldn't you?
I would.
Yeah.
I enjoy my even though I got wounded.
Yeah.
In a way, I was kind of glad when I got wounded. I was getting tired of getting dragging around in those foxholes.
Well, that was actually $1 million wound you got there.
Yeah.
What we call $1 million wound, you didn't lose an arm, you didn't lose a leg, you didn't have a head injury, and you recovered. So, and it was bad enough to get you out of combat. So, you had the $1 million wound. Okay. So, well, I hope that our audience enjoyed this, and until we have another program, I don't know what it's going to be, but keep watching, and we'll be looking for you on Shooting from the Hip. Until then, See you later.